First thing I want to do is let everyone know in Bracebridge that myself and council and your fellow citizens are thinking about you if you've been affected by this event. And we're also thinking about citizens all over Ontario and throughout Canada that are suffering the same thing right now. And our heart goes out to every one of them. I'm going to start with a bit of a current conditions update in terms of water and weather today. So we've seen the rain come to an end. It got replaced by snow overnight. That wasn't necessarily a bad thing. It can act as a bit of a sponge for some of the water that's on the ground. With the colder temperatures, slow some of the flow into the lakes and rivers and streams. So we'll take that as a bit of a plus. No rain forecasted over the next few days until we get to Wednesday again. So perhaps that's time for the system to take a bit of a breather and start moving water through it and seeing water levels go down. However, water levels are up this morning. We've seen a rise overnight of several inches of water, depending on where you are located on the river or watershed system. Lake Muskoka continues to rise. The Muskoka River continues to rise on both branches. So some statistics, the Big East River, which feeds Lake Vernon and Huntsville, which then feeds Ferry into Mary, has seen a spike because of the rain yesterday. Last week when this happened, it spiked up fairly quickly and came down fairly quickly, so we're hopeful of that again. Mary Lake is continuing to rise a little bit. It crested, but now it's going up again due to conditions yesterday, which means outflow is going up and headed our way. In the north branch of the river, with the gauge at Port Sydney, it's at 249 cubic meters per second. Again, these were numbers from about 8 a.m. this morning. Of note, the previous recorded high was 228 cubic meters per second. So it's safe to say what we're dealing with right now is a historical event. We've talked a lot about 2013 rather, and putting it in context of 2013. This is now its own animal.
Is that the dam or is it
I'm not taking any questions right now. I'll take them at the end, okay? At High Falls, local inflows are flattening out, so we're hoping that that's good news. Wilson's Falls, which is a little further up the river, is at 298 cubic meters per second. Again, previous high 233. So we're seeing some very dramatic flow rate increases from previous highs. And when we look at the south branch of the Muskoka River, it has been having a fairly steady linear increase in flow rate as well, and it's currently at 157 cubic meters per second. And you will note that both the north and south branches come together just outside our downtown core, which is providing a lot of water as it runs out to the mouth of the river and into Lake Muskoka. Lake Muskoka is currently rising. It's 10 centimeters over its 2013 level and will continue to rise, and it's up approximately 1.3 meters since April 13th. Outflows at the Moon River and Musquash combined are a little over 400 cubic meters of flow, but doing some calculations, and again these are calculation based using some modeling, approximately 532 cubic meters is the inflow and 400 cubic meters is the outflow, or just over, which means Lake Muskoka continues to go up. So I'll move on from that and just talk about residents affected right now. We try to get some statistics together on that. Based on 2013, we saw 1,092 permanent residents and 1,020 seasonal properties in Bracebridge that were impacted by some type of flooding. Again, those areas are impacted now, and we expect to see more because of the higher water levels. And that's talking about water infiltration. Again, it's important to keep in mind that a number of people in this event are also affected by road closures and the fact that they cannot get in or out of their properties to access supplies and services or be responded to by first responders. To that end, a quick update on public works. So the Stevenson Road 1 bridge, which is a shared bridge between the town of Huntsville and the town of Bracebridge, has been closed due to high water. Colony Road is also closed in the town of Bracebridge. Yesterday we reported that work on Beaumont Drive had taken place to raise the level of the road and allow vehicular traffic to continue, and that was a successful venture. However, with the increase in water volume in the river and the rising river, that now is becoming flooded again, and it is entirely possible that later today that roadway may need to be closed, which means that residents in the Beaumont Farm and Allport Bay area may want to consider a voluntary evacuation. We know not all of them are affected by flooding per se, but you may be affected by the inability, again, to get in and out of your location. Also of note in that area is that Bell Canada is planning on cutting landline service today because their infrastructure is compromised by rising water. So if you need to make a decision on whether you want to stay or go in that area, you should make it soon. If you require assistance to leave, assistance can be provided for you at 211, but right now the road is passable and you can and should be able to get out on your own. But again, if you feel you need help, 211 is that call. I would say to those that have any sort of precarious medical condition to consider leaving very strongly, because again, this could occur for several days yet, and if you do not have adequate supplies, or if you require first responder assistance, we can't guarantee that that assistance would get to you in its normal timely fashion, because obviously if there's water over the roads, that's impacting all the vehicles. So again, to reiterate, Beaumont Farm and Allport area could see a road closure later today. They should consider leaving. They can call 211 if they need assistance, and if they need housing or any other supplies to keep them safe, we'll make sure that that's provided. Also note that the 211 system is fairly burdened by a fairly high number of calls, not just in this area but in other areas in Ontario right now, and you may experience some delays when you call. So don't give up. Please be prepared to wait, and assistance will be provided to you. In other areas, we are getting to a point where we're exceeding or are going to exceed the 72-hour window that I've discussed over the last couple of days, where we advise people to have supplies on hand for an extended period of time. We know that some people have supplies on hand for a very long period of time, but others may not. And again, medical conditions and the need for medications and other things may factor into that kind of supply window that people have at their home. In the Fraserburg area, we're seeing continued flows and don't expect that road to open to traffic anytime soon. Although, of course, everyone is always doing their best to assess conditions, and if there's a solution to be applied, it will be applied. But as I mentioned, the South Branch is continuing to rise, and it's a very difficult location for us. So my advice to anyone in that situation where your road may be closed and you may be concerned about your safety or supplies, if it's not an emergency, call 211, and again, we'll try and give you the best assistance that we can. And if it is an emergency, as we've said many times before, if there is an immediate medical emergency, your first call should be to 911 to ensure your safety. We are concerned that on some of the roads, not all of the roads, but some of the roads, it's getting to a point where it's harder and harder for emergency vehicles to access properties because of the road closures. So again, working with Public Works, doing our best to make sure that we can maintain the integrity of the roads, or hopefully the depth doesn't get to be too much. If that happens, again, delayed response times are a result of that. You'll note in many of our releases that have gone out, roads are closed but accessible by an emergency vehicle. We just can't guarantee that that will continue to be the case in all cases. For those affected properties, again, note that the Simcoe-Muskoka District Health Unit has issued a drinking water advisory for affected areas. Those in flooded areas using well water should assume that their water is not potable. those in flooded areas should also note that municipal water sources are not affected and that they can get water from water filling stations on the Allport and Beaumont Farm area from the plant at 336 Ecclestone Drive, at 1601 Beaumont Drive. And for others in the community, there's a tap at 336 Ecclestone Drive. And if you want more information on safe water from the health unit, it can be found at simcoe-muskokahealth.org. And a complete list of municipal water sources around the Muskoka area will be available in an upcoming media release. We've seen an incredible uptake on sandbags in the last few days. Thousands and thousands have gone out of the Fowler construction site where the town is offering free sandbags due to the fact that we've had many volunteers in from many different groups, many individuals. You've seen, if you follow me on social media, that I put an open call out for volunteers now on multiple occasions, both yesterday and today. And we thank everybody that has showed up and is prepared to help their neighbor and understands the severity of this crisis for many in our community. We are still happy to receive volunteers. You can go to Fowler. If you're over 18, bring a shovel, a strong back, and appropriate clothing because it's pretty cold out there today. And again, your help is appreciated. We are bringing larger teams in as they become available from different areas. We've received help from neighboring municipalities, and I would mention the city of Aurelia this morning has crews in Bracebridge that have both been filling sandbags and dispersing those bags at affected areas in the community. And we thank everybody, and there'll be further thank yous to come when we get through this event, and that list will be very long. For people that are out of town, the town understands that you may want to check on your seasonal homes, and the message to you is please wait. You must wait. Simply put, we don't want you putting yourself in danger. Closed roads, as we've stated previously, are illegal to cross. We do not know or cannot guarantee the condition of the road. We do not want you getting in trouble on that road. Your personal property is not as important as yourself. I would also note that at this time, although curiosity is high because of many of the images that people have seen on TV, we'd request that you don't come and visit our community simply to look at fast-moving water. The fast-moving water is very dangerous, and if anybody gets near it, it could result in a terrible personal accident. B, there are a number of vehicles moving about town, through town, and trying to carry on business to get help to those that need it. And there are also many people in our community that are just trying to live their day-to-day lives as this goes on as well. So while we are a town that loves to welcome visitors, now isn't a good time, to put it bluntly. So please wait until another time when the weather is better, and we will happily receive you then. Lastly, I just want to thank all the individuals that have provided service to so many people. It is incredibly heartwarming. I've received calls from people in Toronto asking if they could come up with a shovel to help. I've talked to residents that are in the community whose own property is under siege, but more worried about others and their property. Our community is an amazing place, and it is a resilient place, and it is showing that amazingness and resiliency right now. And it's very emotional for me, and I know for all the community leaders and everybody that has been working on this, trying to keep our residents safe. And I wish everybody well. I am very happy that I don't believe we've had any personal injury while this event has gone on. We've continued to receive calls for emergency service, but they are what you would consider routine. So let's hope that continues to be the case. Let's hope everyone continues to be safe. Let's hope that we all continue to help one another, and that in a few days we'll be through this, but it is going to extend for at least a few more days. And the last note I'd make today is that I will be contacting the Premier later today and the Minister of Municipal Affairs just to provide them an update on the situation. I don't think there is a specific ask at this time, but the Premier paid us the courtesy of a visit on the first day of our event, and I would like to repay him the courtesy of giving him an update directly from me as to what is happening, so they can continue to update our status and in their notebooks as well.